You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump's secret weapon. And the one thing that makes world leaders bow, based on an article by Robert Reich. Trump's real power is everybody else's fear, the source of the deference. The source story gets one thing right: Trump's power does not come from competence, legitimacy, or even a stable popular mandate. It comes from his willingness to violate rules, weaponize institutions, and punish anyone who resists him. NATO leaders did not flatter him because they admired him. They flattered him because they were managing a threat they helped normalize. That is the central fact buried under all the talk about personality, ethics, and norms. Trump is not powerful because he is persuasive. He is powerful because he has made volatility itself into leverage. Courtesy is not neutral. The NATO summit showed a familiar pattern. Foreign leaders and institutional elites bend first, then explain later. They wrapped themselves in courtesy while Trump insulted allies, floated Greenland again, dismissed the war in Ukraine as something that doesn't affect us, and treated the alliance like a vending machine for his ego. That is not diplomacy. It is submission dressed up as seriousness. The article describes the room's unity and love as if those words mean anything in the presence of coercion. They do not. When powerful people praise a man because they fear what he will do if they do not, that is not consent. It is risk management under pressure. Ethics is too small a word. The source tries to frame Trump as beyond ethics, beyond morality, beyond standards. That is directionally correct, but still too polite. The issue is not that Trump keeps slipping across a moral line. The issue is that he treats law, treaty, and office as raw material for enrichment and revenge. He is not confused about right and wrong. He is committed to making right and wrong irrelevant if they interfere with winning. That is why words like unethical and amoral still understate the problem. They suggest a philosophical defect. What we are looking at is organized predation. He breaks it, others pay. The most accurate part of the source is the asymmetry. Trump takes the first mover advantage in destroying trust. He breaks the norm, collects the benefit, and leaves everyone else to absorb the cost. That is how he turns institutions into protection rackets. Tariffs become pressure. Foreign policy becomes extortion. The presidency becomes a vehicle for making billions. Even the 2020 election gets folded into the same logic: deny reality, force everyone else to respond, then call the response proof that the system is rigged. This is why treating Trump as merely rude, uncouth, or norm-breaking is a category error. The norm violation is the tactic. The tactic is the business model. The real failure is institutional cowardice. The real scandal is not that Trump is Trump. Everyone knows what he is by now. The scandal is how many institutions still behave as if appeasement is prudence. NATO leaders know he is arbitrary. Democrats know he is arbitrary. The media knows he is arbitrary. Yet the response keeps drifting toward containment, respectability, and procedural language, as if the problem were a difficult personality rather than a faction willing to use state power for personal gain. That is how authoritarian politics advances, not only through the leader's aggression, but through the surrounding class's habit of calling surrender stability. The article is strongest when it identifies fear as Trump's real currency. It is weakest when it treats the collapse of norms as a tragic mystery instead of a predictable consequence of too many actors deciding they could live with it. What this reveals: Trump is not an exception to the political order. He is what happens when power is allowed to detach from accountability and then rewarded for doing so. He prospers because institutions keep teaching him that the cost of lawlessness will be borne by everyone else. That is the larger pattern: elite deference, public damage, private gain. The alliance, the courts, the bureaucracy, the press, and the political class are all part of the same equation when they refuse to impose consequences. Trump is the beneficiary of that refusal, not its cause. He is the loudest expression of a system that keeps mistaking accommodation for control. When the people with real power are frightened of the man who breaks the rules are already gone. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.